Hello, friends and residency candidates, and welcome to today's residency success interview, where I have the pleasure of speaking with Deepak Shaji, who matched into general surgery prelim at the University of New Mexico. So, hello, Deepak. Welcome, congratulations, and thank you so much for being here with me today.
Hello, Saf. Thank you for inviting me to this call. Thank you again. I think I wouldn't have done this without your help. And let's get started.
Perfect. Well, it's been a pleasure to support you throughout the process. Can you start off by just telling everybody a little bit about yourself? What got you into medical school and what your experience in medical school was like and what led you to surgery?
All right. So, starting from the beginning, I think I really like biology, and I think that's where where I started exploring my options to become a doctor because none of my family members were doctor, but at the end, I started loving the subject and I matched into a medical school in India. And then coming into medical school, I didn't know what kind of a surgeon I want to be, sorry, what kind of a doctor I want to be. Initially, I thought I would become a psychiatrist, but in second year, third year, that changed into surgery. And that's also when I decided I want to try the USMLE path, where I want the best training, the cutting edge technology, and and also the option to maybe later work anywhere in the world. So that was my main reasons of why I chose the USMLE path. But again, from the moment I had the idea of doing surgery in the US, a lot of people discouraged me. They were even I was confused for a bit. Maybe I should try something else. But it got more clear to me that I want surgery along the way. And then I made a decision that sat down and decided that I want surgery and I'll give my best in this USMLE pathway and let's see where that goes. And I think that's the mindset and the attitude I had throughout the process and which got me this far. And yeah, and I think um yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Perfect. And when you were in medical school, what were you doing to stay involved with extracurriculars and also to stay involved with surgery so that you can really help boost your application when you were ready to
Right.
apply?
Right. So so I'm from India, so all the medical colleges in India, what we have is for our residency application, we just have one exam which decides our fate of matching or not. So you don't really have to do volunteering work. You don't have to do research or anything else. You just one exam, one score. So when I decided to do USMLE, I came to know that I had to do a lot of other things. I need a CV which has volunteering, research, and a lot of other things. And at the time, I was, even though I wasn't sure about USMLE, I kind of were involved in a lot of things in medical school. So I think that helped me, made my job easier. But if you are someone who don't have these things on your CV, I think you should look at it and see what and try to fill that with experiences. And I think in IRA's website, you can find the sample CV where they tell you about what the IRA CV looks like. So if you see anything which is deficient, try to get that experience. May it be volunteering work, may it be research, um, may it be leadership roles, and they look at all that. And I was already involved in a lot of things, so I had many of those. But I think one thing I was lacking was in research because I was still trying to get to know what I like and trying to get to know about research itself and the specialty I want to be. So before I started my step one, before I decided, and I also had to discuss with my parents because it is an expensive uh, path. So what I did was start with a small case report, more research in my home school, so that when it's time I have some research and learn to most importantly learn how to do them. So and that worked out. What happened was that end of we have in India we have 1 year internship after we graduate, and that's when I gave my step one. So by then I had almost all the experiences. I had my CV. I also began some research projects. Also, I took some time to give my step one, and by then I knew I wanted surgery. So I applied for surgery electives as well, and that's when after writing my step one and step two, I went on for my electives. And when I came back, um, I came back. I networked with doctors in the US. I um, I made connections and I started doing research there also in US also with every rotation I went to, and that was really useful uh, because that helped me keep in touch with my letter writers. Uh, Secondly, the quality of my letter went up because I was always working with them and we were in touch all the time and throughout the process. And also towards during my interviews, some of them vouched for me as well and they send emails for me. So that also, I'll get to this maybe later in this talk, but yeah, uh, I did my electives, came back, finished my internship, and that's at the end of my internship was when the application season began. So it was full on busy time for me.
Definitely. Can you tell us just a little bit more about the process for securing electives in the US?
Electives, for me, a surgery applicant, surgery is hard to get, but surgery electives are a little bit easier than medicine electives because not a lot of them apply for surgery electives. So, but even then, I had difficulty. I didn't know if I would get any, and um, but I ended up getting 3 university electives. The tip is that talk to your seniors, talk to your friends who are in this process, and try to know places which have taken students for electives. And your first priority should be to secure a elective spot in a university hospital, and it should be a hands-on experience as well. So what I did was I talked to my seniors, and they gave me some places usually where students usually go. And what I did was I kept on checking their website when it opens. So they only some each university have a different way of doing things, but you keep looking at their website, you can find when they will start taking applications, when the deadline is, etc., etc. And I know people who have missed the deadline just because they didn't talk to enough people. So the most important thing is talk to people and find out what other options you have.
So when it came to getting ready to actually apply and getting your application materials together, collecting your LORs, finishing the personal statements, the ARIS application, what was going through your mind during that pre-application period, and what were you hoping to really focus on during that time?
Easily, if you look at the whole process, the most difficult part of this journey is the pre-application time when you're getting everything ready for your application deadline. So things like personal statement, uh, to know what to write in your CV and how to write it, getting all your paperwork from college ready. And one other thing was ECFMG certification. So I was just graduating a month before the application deadline. So it was really a tight spot. I wasn't sure if I would have gotten certified, but luckily I did get. My college was supportive as well. So these are the things you don't like foresee. My advice is that get done with your step one, step two electives as soon as possible, and so that you have some time to breathe during your application time. And yeah, definitely the personal statement, things like that. While I was doing my internship, I had to make sure I made my like I worked on my personal statement, my CV. So that's when I met Seth, and he started helping me too. So know what the process is like beforehand. That's something you can do now. Talk to your seniors.
And when you were
Yeah.
looking into programs for applying, how did that program research process look for you?
Yes. So this again is something I've missed during my whole USMLE journey. Before the pre-application, I never thought I should be doing this. This was not on my checklist for some reason. So what happened was that, like I said, I was busy with my internship year, and there was for surgery around like 350 surgery programs, and I had to go through all of them. Some of them were not providing visas, so you had to go through each program to know which one to apply to. And some programs have requirements like 1 year US clinical experience, which most people don't have. So you want to filter out those. Some programs only sponsor a certain kind of visa. Uh, some and also you want to do your own kind of filter where do you want to apply there or not, and that may be due to main reason. Do they take IMGs? Do they take IMGs from your country? Have they ever taken IMGs? Do they have a prelim spot? If they have a prelim spot, do they also take the prelims to categorical? So you have to do program, like you should look at these programs individually and have an Excel sheet or something like that so that you can always refer, because 350 programs is a lot. So what I did was that I didn't have a lot of time to do it myself. So me and my other two friends, we kind of split the work and we did some basic information, and we made an Excel, and we used that to decide which programs I want to apply. So that's how we did it. And it's really a time consuming process. It'll take time away from a lot of the other things if you're doing it last minute, like working on a personal statement, refining your CV, things like that. So do that early too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So when applications finally went out on September 25th, how did that feel?
I was relieved for the most part, but there was one thing in my application which wasn't processed. I think it was my MSPE. There's some miscommunication, and my college didn't send it early enough, or ECFMG didn't process it early enough, something like that. Even one of my LOR from my home school just got approved like hours after I submitted. But I don't think it made any difference. But like, you still want everything to be perfect. You don't know what factors could affect your chances of getting interviews. So after it was done, I was relieved, and all my other files and my other documents were also processed in like in a day or two. So after that, I was just sitting, waiting, and I started hearing this news. Like 1 week after the application deadline, I started hearing people start getting interviews. My friends started getting interviews. But the thing was that surgery started their interview invites. They started sending them out pretty late. I think October is
Yeah.
when they start sending out. So it was just like a silence till then, and like you don't know what's happening, and you're tense but also kind of relieved. And I also finished my medical school, so I came back home. I'm with my family, so things worked out fine, but it was a very stressful time for me.
And when that first interview invite came in, what was going through your mind?
Oh, I was so excited. And it was a university invite too. And being a surgery applicant, I had very such low expectations from the beginning. So my first interview, my first interview invite, it was such a exciting moment for me.
Can imagine. And what was the process like for you to get ready for that interview, and how did your first few interviews go?
So what I did was research the program first, and at one point they did send me. Some programs do send you who will be interviewing me at some point. Some programs don't. So if they send me the details, I'll try to find out what the position is, how long they have been in that program, what kind of research they do they research, do they do research at all, try to find most you can about those interviewers. And then what I did was practice, and Seth helped me here with the practice. So once I scheduled my interview, I told him, and we had like 3-4 sessions before my interview, which again is a lot of work. Especially, I'm not a native English speaker. I'm not really. I feel that it's not up to the mark. So always had this concern about my English or the way I speak. So by the end, it was okay. I think the practice makes a lot of difference. It's not purely about the proper English. It's more about how you like how you talk with the interviewer. And all the interviews I had, once you start like till the point you started, it was very stressful. I was trying to practice myself, but like once you start, it just goes in one direction, and you can't predict it, you can't prepare much for it. But this practice interviews helps you in a way that you know something at least. You know the basic questions at least. And I can tell you, all the interviews I had, it was very pleasant. It was like a conversation full of vibes. So just I didn't even know the time ended. So you're not going to have a problem. So, but you still have to practice. You still have to do your homework before you begin your interview.
And after your interviews, were you following up with programs, and were you still reaching out to programs throughout the interview season that you hadn't heard from yet?
Yeah. So again, I wasn't really sure when to do it, and that was a bit confusing because there is no specific guideline for you to when to reach out to the program, or if it's a good time, who to reach out. If is it okay if I reach out to the PD? Is it okay if I reach out to the PC? Is this a good month? Is this a vacation month? Am I allowed to email them now? Will they get um, annoyed by my emails? So those kind of um, things made it difficult to decide when I should email or if I should email them. So, but I ended up, what I did was I narrowed down few colleges and learned about them, read about them in the website. Then, if I'm really interested, I send an letter of interest to them, and most of them didn't reply, but few of them did give me interviews though. And um, if and also I meant express my connection to that area. I think that's the reason why I got some of the interviews. But I think it does work, and you just have to follow your gut and decide when to send those letters to your PC or PD.
When you were making your rank order list, what were you using to assess the programs, and how did you make your final decisions?
So it kind of depends on which specialty. For surgery, for me, my priority was to match in a place where they would consider me as a potential categorical candidate as well. So all the interviews I did had a history of taking prelims into categorical. So my next filter was like which had more chance, and not just purely on chance, but also from the vibe I got from the interview. And place I matched at the University of New Mexico, when I interviewed with them, I had such a great time with all the interviewers. Also during the pre-match, there's a pre-match resident talk where you can just talk with them and get to know the players, about the work or anything. So when I talked to them, I felt like there was a lot of unity between the residents. They were really supportive of each other. So I think that was really impressive about the program. That was one of the major thing I liked about the program. Second was that during my interview, um, the PD was very understanding. They know the struggles. And also I had an interview with the preliminary program director. So that program, it's had a system in place which know the struggles of a preliminary resident who's looking to match into categorical distance. Not all prelim goes into categorical, but they knew some of us want to match into categorical, and they seem like they had the resource or the support I need. So that's the one thing. Um, Apart from that, you also want to look at the locality, and this comes down in the list, especially for IMGs, I guess. The locality, the institution, like the prestige of the institution. Yeah, those are some of the things, but like I didn't really focus on that. I focused more on the why from the interview and my chances later in that program.
Wonderful. And when it came to the weekend before match day, Monday of match week, how did you get through that weekend? What was it feeling like on Monday before that email came?
Yeah, so the week before, my parents came. My dad works abroad, so he comes once in a few months. So he came home, and they had a trip planned already. So they were going for the trip. They booked the tickets. So, and initially I didn't plan to go with them because, what if I have to do soap? I have to be at home with my camera or with all my setup, all my lights, and be ready for soap. So I didn't want to go. But at the end, towards the like 2 days before the trip, I was like, you know what? I'll just go. If Let's see what happens. If I unfortunately if I don't match, and if I have to do soap, I'll just take my camera, I'll just take my lights, and take my uh, take my suit and just travel with that. And it was a risky decision, but I'm glad I went for that trip. And yeah, and on the match day, I wasn't ready for one thing, which was to know where I matched, because I was a prelim. All my interviews were prelim interviews, and they let you know which state you matched, even though they don't tell you the program. So I was able to narrow down where I matched on the day if I've matched or not, and that's something I wasn't ready for. And yeah, and I didn't know what to feel. It was like on one of my top choices, and yeah, it was really nice to be on that trip, be around my family during that stressful time. I was constantly thinking about it, about going into soap, constantly thinking about what I should do, maybe think of backups such as research. Should I find research now? Should I do it later? Yeah, all this past 2, 3 years, you're just always thinking about something you could do better or you could do as a backup or anything. Uh, yeah, my mom used to come to me and I'd be just staring at the wall thinking, always thinking. So yeah, it was really stressful, but yeah, I was happy to have had my family there during that time.
Yeah, well, congratulations for getting the good news and landing the
Yeah.
position. For people that are entering the process this year or even thinking about it in the next couple of years, what advice do you have for them?
Yeah. So things would have been easier for me if I made some decision early, decision about my specialty, decision about taking the US path. Um, so I kind of made the decision like in end of third year. So there are people some of my friends who made the decision coming into med school, some who made it during beginning of second year. So earlier the better. If you know you're gonna go down the USMLE path, give step one at least as soon as possible. It's okay if you give step two whenever you can, but at least give, since step one is pass and fail and it goes with your existing school curriculum, just try to give it as during your medical school. That's like saving you a lot of time. Second thing is that, like, again, choose a specialty. I know it's really hard, uh, but even I didn't like put my foot down until like end of fourth year, kind of. But try to narrow down the option as you go. So earlier the better, basically. Uh, so next thing is that electives, you have your best opportunity to match a best to increase your chance with interviews, you need good letters, good recommendation. For that, you need quality US clinical experience. So for the first priority is get a university elective. And that for that, most of the electives need step one as a requirement. They need your TOEFL exam. So give those, like I said. And other thing you can do is do get there, like apply early. Keep looking at the website. Try to write down the dates. People miss it. Talk to your seniors. That's the next thing. There'll be people around you who will be doing the same thing. So talk to them also. Talk to your classmates also. And my college had a there's some programs, some medical school which have something called VSLO, which is like an exchange program where you can go as a student to do the electives. It's a portal. So only some colleges in India have access to it. I had access to it, but I only got one interview from the VSLO process where my college is directly talking with other college and they're doing it for me. But there are a few more options, few great big name universities which kind of do it outside VSLO where you can just apply through their website. So that's the reason why I told you guys to keep a lookout for when those applications open. Some open every once a year, some open every 6 months, some colleges like Mayo opens every 3 months. And each college have slightly different requirements, but the basic ones are step one and um, your English, TOEFL or IELTS. Do research. For me, I didn't tell you this, but I only had one publication when I submitted my application. Even one was enough for me is what I'm thinking. But some people have like 20, some people have 100. But the most important thing is that you have to show interest in your specialty. So that is by doing research. So that's where research is important. Mine is a simple case report. And so start doing research in the field you see yourself applying to. Another big advice is that I tell people is that, especially for surgery, something like surgery, don't be on the fence. Like, don't. It's okay to know what your options are. Like, some of my peers, their backup option was to do residency in India. That's okay to know your option. Some of my peers had a backup as internal medicine, but applying to the USMLE path, but keeping internal medicine as a backup, and that also is okay. But the thing is that don't let that backup take too much of your energy. That compromises your primary goal. So my mindset, like I said, was surgery all the way. And if I don't get surgery in the US, I'll do it in India. So I always knew I want surgery. And I've talked to juniors who kind of were like interested in surgery, but they're like, oh, it's 50-50. I'm applying to both. I don't know. I'm okay with both. Those students like that, like me, I was not very inclined to motivate them. I help them, but to motivate them, you have to show that you're interested fully. So I think that is something that comes with part of that mindset you have about going forward with that specialty you like. Yeah, it's just mental.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for
Yeah.
that advice. It seems to have paid off, and
Yeah.
definitely wishing you the best for the next year of prelim and hopefully another categorical match coming up after that. But thank you so much for taking the time to share your experiences and your wisdom and knowledge with the community. I'm sure it will help upcoming applicants. So, so much.
Yeah. Thank you.